Hello, I'm Sandra Contreras. Welcome to Parenting Class 2022. Our topic is how to provide social emotional discipline. This is hosted by Ability Connection Colorado, Creative Options. Thank you for joining us. Between discipline and punishment. What is discipline? Discipline is defined as the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior. It is important that we don't confuse the word discipline with the word punishment. People are punished harshly, and that's usually due to a crime or something that they've done that's really bad. Rarely do I see a child do something that deserves harsh punishment. So what we're going to talk about are ways to discipline your child and teach your child different behaviors so that you don't have to result to any negative practices such as physical punishment or emotional punishment. Teach your children what to do. When I'm speaking about teaching your children what to do, children aren't born knowing what the expectations are. And when we want to teach them what to do, it starts by telling them what to do. The behavior that you want to see, you tell them what you want to see, such as beds are not for jumping, beds are for sleeping. We run outside. Instead of saying, no, don't run, stop running, just tell them, walking feet in the house, you can run outside. So you're telling them what to do. When you want to explain to your child how you want them to behave, just having that conversation with them. Little children, maybe one or two words. Walking feet. Older children, you can actually sit down and have a conversation with them about what's appropriate, giving them different scenarios, asking them, when you're in this classroom, do you run or do you walk? When we're in the store, do you hold my hand or do you pull away? So that you can have conversations about those things. It's probably a good idea to have conversations about what to do when you're taking them on different outings to help with appropriate behavior in stores and parks and different places like that, because sometimes it can be a danger to them to not listen. Guiding children's behavior is something that you're going to do on purpose. You're not going to just do it when they're being unsafe or presenting unacceptable behavior. What you're going to do is you're going to purposely guide their behavior with predictable routines, setting age-appropriate rules for your children, and modeling kindness and respect. When you model kindness and respect to your spouse and other adults, and be it your neighbors or your close friends, that shows your child how to engage with other people. And in turn, that will help them with their relationships with their peers. Together with these actions, being attentive and aware of your child's needs, when you're meeting your child's needs, that helps them feel confident and secure, and they know that you notice them. Children need you to be on their team, and they need to feel that you're on their team. Of course, you're their parent. You're going to have to, discipline them, and there's some things they can't do. But through it all, they need to know that you're loving them through it, that you're always there, and that gives them that sense of security. On the quote below, it says, children experience your attention and guidance as a caring embrace, holding everything together. They know you're on their team. And that's what I was just speaking about. Having them feel secure and confident is what we all want for them. And when they're secure and confident, they're happy children. So planning and guiding for them and giving them the respect and being attentive to their needs um, can do nothing more than just help them feel confident and secure and know that they're valued by you. And that's what's really important, is that they feel the value of who they are and know that you love them. Knowing your child. You know your child and you know what works best for them. Most often, anyway. I'm a parent and I know that um, I have two children that are adults right now, and both of them I felt I could raise them the exact same way. That was not true. They are like night and day. They're both perfectly wonderful, just the way they are, but what I thought was best for one wasn't best for the other. So, with that said, as a parent, you should always use the best strategy that works for you and yours. And that will look differently for each family, is what's said in the second bullet. But it also will look differently for each of your children, because children are very different. They have very different temperaments and thresholds and all of those things. But the bottom line is, you know your child. Um, so when parents learn how to be responsive to the temperament of their children, they're ready to learn and use those cues to guide their parenting responses. So um, temperaments are how your child is emotionally. Some children are, quick to cry. Others are quick to anger. They're like us. They're just little people with different emotions. And as a parent, you're the most likely first person to know and recognize those temperaments. So um, you'll go by those cues from what you know of your child and how you parent them. And one of the things that really works best is to know that you're trying your best. You're trying to parent your child in the best way possible, and you're not going to always get it perfectly right. But it's trial and error, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to get a lot more right than wrong. Trust yourself and trust that your child will respond because you are doing it out of love. And the green bullet says children will live up or down to their parents' expectations, and to set realistic expectations. So if your child is living up to your expectations, it's because you have high expectations of them. And that doesn't mean that you expect them to go out at the age of 3 and ride a bike, which a lot of kids do, but you're not going to be disappointed if your child doesn't. But you have high expectations of them that they are going to listen and act appropriately in certain situations. And but if you look down on your child and don't have any expectations of them, he always acts that way. Oh, he's gonna have a bad day. He's been a bad boy. Guaranteed, if that child's been told he's gonna have a bad day, he's gonna have a bad day. He's going to be and live up to or down to whatever expectations you have of him or her. So we have to make sure that we uplift them. If your boss at work continuously told you that you were a loser, I don't know why I hired you, why do you come in every day? I'm sure that you would want to come in every day. I'm sure that you wouldn't want to do your very best because the expectation would be that you are not going to do your best. So that's the way children feel. So when you bring your child in the morning to school, or when they wake up in the morning and they're a little grumpy, you can say, "Oh my goodness, later on, you're going to feel so much better, I can tell, because I've made your special breakfast this morning," or something of that nature. But just don't buy into the negativity. Don't feed it to them by expecting it from them. The parent-child relationship. Infants and toddlers and preschoolers will be um, disciplined very differently. That is my hope, that it is always taken into account the age of the child. For infants and toddlers, what you would do to enhance your relationship with your child and to bring about that nurturing, I'm on your team behavior would be talk to your child as you're going about your daily tasks. Like when you're giving them diapers, not giving them diapers, when you're putting on their diaper and providing snacks and things like that, talk to them. Talk to them about, oh, I'm going to put your diaper on now. I'm going to put this side on first, and I'm going to put that side on first. Does that feel good to have a dry diaper? Or look what I have for snack for you. We're going to have apples, and the apple is red. Look at on this side, it's red. And pause to allow them a turn in the conversation. That could be anything from cooing to laughing to making sounds to repeating what you just said. It just depends on how old the child is. As they get older, of course, you will get more words and phrases and complete sentences. But as they're babies, just make sure that you're giving them lots of eye contact and lots of verbal feedback. When they coo back. When they laugh with them. Just give them lots and lots of engagement and eye contact. So when they're that young, an infant or a toddler, you provide a routine for them, and you give them cues so they know what to expect. They see you going over to the sink to fix their bottle. They get excited, and just describe it to them. I'm going to walk over and I'm going to go heat up your bottle, and I'm going to grab this apple, or I'm going to get your diaper, so that they know what happens next. And that's the beginning of building that relationship, by verbally giving them the cues of what's happening next. And I'm here for you, and I'm looking at you, and I see you, and I hear you. Preschoolers, you can make a connection by asking them to talk about the people and things in their drawings or photos that you have or photos that they bring home. You can ask them, who's that? Is that your friend? What's her name? There's different things that you can ask them to keep connecting with them so that they know that you're interested in what's going on with them and what's happening in their world. Show them that you value their presence by, a warm hug, a tap on the shoulder, ruffle their hair. When they come home or come into the house after a long day, just give them a big hug or a big hello. I'm so happy to see you. And when they leave, and when you leave them in the morning at school, or you're leaving to go to work, make sure that you reach out to them and let them know that you're going to miss them throughout the day. Just show that you care, and that you're going to miss them, because you are going to miss them. But a lot of times we forget to tell people what we feel about them. And this is a prime opportunity to do that. And when you do that, they will be closer to you and feel closer to you. This is the second half of 3 parts of the parent-child relationship. We'll start with the goals for infants and toddlers. As I had spoken earlier, it's about interactions and their environment. And some of the strategies we can use for interactions is, as I've said before, respond to your child's emotions, their positive and their negative ones, in ways to let them know that their feelings are important. I mean, you can validate your child's importance by responding, even if they're showing a negative reaction to something. You can validate that and say, I know that you're upset, but that is not the way that we act when we're upset. Can we think of another way to be angry but not hurt other people? Also, you can let them know that their feelings are important by doing that. And of course, the positive ways to react. showing affection and warmth and nurturing them. If they're crying, go to them and hold them and tell them it's okay. We're going to work this out. Um, Gentle touches are just huge, a huge way of validating their feelings. And in the environment, just be aware of their needs and consistently respond to them when they need help. If they're stressed and have a fear of strangers, cuddle them and soothe them and let them know that they're safe. Um, Providing quiet and active areas with materials that they can use to play on their own and be available to play with them if they want and to facilitate their interactions with the materials. Just being attentive and aware and responsive. The goals for preschoolers are for interactions, you're going to model and discuss appropriate social behaviors. Like I said earlier about showing respect and consideration for others, and that's a part of modeling social behaviors. So there's other social behaviors like thank you and hello and just basic everyday things, and you discuss why those are important to relationships and help your child to understand how they look and feel. Like practicing it. This is what it looks like when I greet someone. Hi, how are you? And ask your child, how do you think they feel when you greet them and you're smiling like that? Demonstrating respect by kneeling, giving them eye contact, if that's culturally appropriate for you to do. If it is, getting down to their level and looking them in the face and saying, I see what's going on with you. You want to talk about it? Or, just listening closely until they finish talking. Try not to interrupt. Try not to add in what you think they're feeling, and just kind of let them learn to express that in a healthy way. The environment, as with the younger children, you're going to have activities and materials for them to do and engage with. Having it ready in advance would be good so that they don't have to wait so long. But waiting is a part of life, and it can't always be that way. But whenever you can, be prepared with the materials, like if you're going to have a painting activity or something like that, then that way your child is able to engage with the materials immediately instead of you trying to set up and they're grabbing things, and that's when the conflict occurs and they get frustrated and you're frustrated. So just to alleviate that, you can set up the environment first. When you have materials at home that you want them to be independently using, have them arranged so they could easily find them. Teach them how to return things when they're finished using them, just like you would in the classroom. Just encourage them to put it back where it was, and you practicing that in your daily life and showing them, mommy's going to put this right back where she got it from, or daddy's going to put this up on the shelf where your brother can't get it. So these are just good ways for building that relationship and showing that team approach with your children. The third part of parent-child relationships and the goals for infants and toddlers. I had spoke before about individualizing and that no two children are the same, even if they're born to the same parents and live in the same environment. They each have their own individual identity. So first, with infants and toddlers, under individualization, you're going to wait for your child's response to a verbal or nonverbal communication. And that means you hold out your arms for them to come to you, and they toddle over to you, or they try to run the other way. With toddlers, that's bound to happen, and some infants when they're crawling. But just don't act immediately. Give them time to understand what you want, and you can say, come here, and just give them time to to respond to what they think you're requesting of them. And then you can also match their responses. If a baby's crawling, you can crawl towards him with a smile on your face and be really animated with him. If your child starts to walk away from you, then, and you can say, come here, I want to show you something. Come here. If they don't come to you, then casually walk over and grab their hand. Don't chase them. Try not to yell, because that's going to send them even further away. Use your child's name with a positive comment. Look them in the eye if that's culturally appropriate. Look them in the eye and listen carefully during conversations. Follow their interests with actions, words, and new ideas. And that would be an example of following their lead, is when they're playing with they're playing in the kitchen, and you've given them some pots and pans and they're stirring, and you can say, oh my goodness, what are you cooking? Oh my God, that smells so good. You're just going to follow their lead and then just build on what they're already doing. Let's see, for preschoolers, it's so important to spend one-on-one time with your child every day. It can be really hard if you have more than 2 children. That can be hard, and you may not be able to do it every day, but at least once a week, try to spend one-on-one time with each of your children, giving them just that eye contact, that validation that I'm still here for you. I know that you're here. And I know you can be tired when you get home from work or from school and you're exhausted, but you can also just put somebody in the bed with you and read a quick story. Go out into the living room, touch your teenager on the back and say, how was your day going if you have a teenager? But as far as preschoolers are concerned, you can just ask about their day. Let them help you fold clothes, let them help you wash dishes, set the table, any of those things. And comment on what they're doing with you. Thank your child and say, you were really wonderful helping mom today. That's their positive behavior. If you notice that they start to run and they stop running in the house, recognize that and say, wow, you used your walking feet. We're going to move on to relationships with family. Families are all different, and they have different traditions and ways that they go about in their environment. And these are just suggestions, and they are suggestions that I hope will fit into your lifestyle. For infants and toddlers, you want to position your infant where they can see you and what's going on in their environment, so that they're a part of the family. Just because they're little and they're just little people that's learning, and they're learning from watching and hearing, and they are a part of the family, so they need to be included. And then comment on the things that the family's doing. Bring the child in. Oh my goodness, we're going to sit down and have dinner. Let's scoot you over here so that you can have dinner with us. And, hold them in your lap so that they can see what's going on. I know it's easy to, keep them in the car seat or the whatever seats they call them nowadays. But just keeping them up high enough to where they're a part of what's going on. Because you're their secure base, and it shows them that you have their back. So if you're in a situation to where there's new people, there's new things going on in the environment, there's a lot going on, and they can't see, and they're down on the floor in their seat, they might get anxious and start to cry and kick and show that they're, not feeling really secure. So if you have them on your lap and they can see what's going on, and you're verbalizing that, oh, that's a doggy. See that little doggy? They know that they feel secure and they know you have their back. The thing is, resist the urge to facilitate play. That is, if your child is playing by themselves, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with seeing a child play alone, it's okay for your child to have times when they want to have that little alone time. So try not to interfere. You can watch from a distance. Um, and if they're struggling to put uh, a square peg in a round um, shape, it's okay. Let them watch them and let them work it out, because they will eventually work it out. But you want to build that resilience for them to keep trying. You don't want to jump in and take over. With preschoolers, you want to model ways your child can invite themselves to join others, like teaching them to say, "Can I play?" Tapping them on the shoulders, using little scenarios where the two of you are playing together and you tap her on the shoulder and say, "Can I play with you?" And she says, "No, I don't want to play with you right now." Then you can say, "Okay, well, I will go find someone that does want to play with me." Those are ways that you can model so that they are able to accept that someone may not want to play with them at that moment, and realize that it's not because they don't like them, that they can still want to play on their own. The other child wants to still play on their own. And so that other child, which is your child, can learn to, well, if she doesn't want to play with me, or he, then I will go find someone that does, so that they don't feel alienated, that they learn that it's okay for me to play with someone else. Identify problems as you see them happening. Cue your child by saying, "I see we have a problem. What should we do?" For instance, if two siblings are fighting with each other over one toy, you can say that, "I see we have a problem. Let's talk about what can we do." If the two children are old enough to have that conversation with you, that's great. If one is younger, then you need to have the conversation with the older one, and so that they can work it out. And as I said earlier, using role play for common conflicts, such as sharing and asking and things like that. It helps them to learn to problem solve so that they don't get anxious and there isn't a lot of dissension. There's lots of books out there. You can use books and puppets as examples of how to do these um, um, do these strategies that help with common conflicts that could happen in a family. Part two of relationships with adults. So, infants and toddlers, I want you to work with your family coach to identify the practices you want to build and strengthen. If there's an area that you feel like you're really struggling with your child, talk to your family coach, because they're a wealth of knowledge to help you with those situations, and they're available to you. And another thing you can do is comment on what your child is doing and saying. If you have an infant that's babbling and cooing, mimic what they're saying, and then talk to them and use words, full sentences. Just have conversations with them. They love that. And smile and give them eye contact. For toddlers, comment on what your child is saying and doing. If they're saying, "Mama, I want," you want that? You want mommy to give you that? Identify your child's behaviors that actually, and this is really serious, everyone has buttons that can be pushed, from an infant, a toddler, preschooler, teenagers, your husband, wife, a spouse, whichever. Um, so you need to identify the behaviors that push your button and develop some strategies in dealing with the situations so that your child's behavior doesn't frustrate you on a regular basis. And that's how you go in and work with your family coach. Once you identify it, what your buttons are, then they can help you come up with some strategies um, to deal with that in a more positive, healthy way. The preschoolers, the same thing. Work with your family coach to identify practices that you want to build on and strengthen in the areas of your parenting. Just demonstrate respect by establishing eye contact when speaking, if it's culturally appropriate for you to do that. Let your child know when transitions are going to happen. Um, Today, we were planning on going to the park, but we can't go because mommy has to go to the grocery store. Because if you put that child in the car and they think they're going to the park and you go to the grocery store, you're going to have drama in the car. So you need to individualize transition warnings as you need to. Remember, if you want them to do the right thing, you have to teach them the right thing. And by teaching them the right thing is telling them, talk to them, explain to them. It's really going to be worth your time. You're going to establish and enforce clear rules and limits, positive and negative consequences for their behavior. You have got to enforce clear rules. If they're not clear, then they're going to always step over the line because they're not clear in what exactly you want. You cannot tell them, we are not going to the park. I can't go. We are not going to the park. We can't go. We will go tomorrow. If you give in and go to the park, you're going to have to give in and go to the park every single time. So they will learn that not everything happens instantly because things come up. But if you can keep your promise, keep your promise. But do not give in because they're having a tantrum or they're screaming and yelling. And if they accept it positively, please follow up and take them the next day. Be true to your word because they remember. And the consequences for their behavior. If you don't want to hold my hand when we're crossing the street, then we can't go. You'll have to stay home. I need to know that you're going to be safe and that you're going to hold my hand. That's a consequence, a positive consequence, because they already know that they have to hold your hand. And it's positive because they're learning how to control themselves and do what you ask them to do. And it's positive because they're going to be safe crossing the street. Use language that communicates respect, such as please, thank you, and you're welcome. I spoke about that earlier. It was always common for people to say please and thank you and you're welcome. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't use that, but I know as a parent, it was important to me, and I'm sure it's important to you that your child is respectful. And the only way they're going to learn respect is if you show respect. So saying please and thank you to your child and you're welcome when they thank you is a wonderful way to build that relationship. Now we're going to move on with relationships with other children, and this is part one of that. Infants and toddlers, um, their relationships with other children are going to be very different than the preschoolers. Um, you're going to model and demonstrate how to communicate with others. With an infant, you can, if they're reaching out and scratching, you can hold their hand and say gentle touches and rub the other child and show them gentle touches. With a toddler, you can do the same thing, but you can also show them hugs and gentle touches. You can further your demonstration of that and your modeling. And you do that during different routines and different activities. It just goes across your day. You want to comment on and support your child's use of the emerging skills, such as sharing and using words to express ideas and needs. Get excited with them. Clap and be excited. Oh my gosh, you said please. Of course you can have it. This is wonderful. You're sharing. Oh my gosh, you're going to give that to your sister. You are such a big boy or a big girl. The environment, arrange your environment so that your child can see what's going on around them and move freely without tripping over things. And you don't want them to feel afraid in their environment that they can hurt themselves. Preschoolers, you want to read books and discuss and tell stories and talk about what it means to be a friend and what it looks like to be a friend. And remind your child of the steps involved in using problem solving, such as, the tapping on the shoulder, the child rejecting them, saying that I don't want to play, and them deciding, well, I'll go find someone that does want to play with me. And just sharing. How does that look? Maybe I will play with it for a little while and then I will give it to you when I'm done. Teaching them those types of words to use when someone
want something from them. Um, Teach your child how to cooperate and take turns. Play games with them so that they have to wait and take their turn, and compliment and acknowledge that you saw how hard it was for them to wait, but they did it, and how proud you are of them that they could do it. Part two, for infants and toddlers, observe, watch, and identify your child's interests and their temperament. If you notice that your child is um, very anxious around strangers, then once you identify that, then you can try to alleviate their angst if they are around strangers by holding them in your lap, holding them close until they feel safe. If you find that your child is interested in banging on household pots and pans, get them a wooden spoon and let them bang away if you can take the noise. Um, Keep track of your child's social development. Provide support to enhance and build new social skills. Take them out, take them around other people. Let them see how you engage with other people and who's safe and that they're safe. Um, for preschoolers, you want to teach them how to establish and maintain friendships. And that's going to be done by you modeling your friendships and relationships and your relationship with them. If the teacher has taught them that we are all friends and that we treat each other with kindness, reiterate that to your child. Talk to your child's teacher and find out what words does she use, he or she use in the classroom to help develop and maintain friendships. And again, model respect and kindness. And you are your child's first and most important teacher. So make sure that you're modeling all of those things that you want your child to do, and you will have really good outcomes. Part three, relationships with other children. Infants and toddlers, their situations and their strategies for building relationships will be very different than preschoolers. Um, uh, First and foremost, work with your family coach to identify some of the practices and strategies that you want to build and strengthen. As parents, we all have areas in which we want to um, become better at, and know our hot buttons and know what really sets us off and what stresses us out, and possibly, how to potty train or bedtime rituals, different things like that. Your family coach can really help you with a lot of that. And as we've said before, position your child, particularly infants, so that they can see what others are doing and what's happening around in their environment, and model positive social behaviors such as gentle touch. We talked about that. Putting your hand over your child's hand to guide and let them touch other people gently. Show them what that feels like. And then talking about other people's feelings and their facial expression. Oh, she looks sad. I wonder why she's feeling sad. With preschoolers, same thing. Work with your family coach on practices you want to strengthen and build on. Offer many chances for practicing social interactions and their relationship skills during activities and routines. What that means is pre-COVID and post-COVID, you'll have more ways of doing that. But you want them to interact with other people socially and learn the back and forth of conversations and the appropriate ways of handling different activities and routines of their day. Use experiences such as characters in books or puppets, and illustrate social problem solving skills. There's so many books and out there that talk about solving different problems, and you can contact your local library and ask for a list of those and ask them to put them together for you, and you can pick them up and use them to help your child. And you can do that with infants and toddlers also. And modeling phrases that your child can use to initiate and encourage interactions. We talked about that, tapping on the shoulder. Can I play with you? A child asked them, can I play with that toy? I want that toy. And them being able to say, I'm using it right now. I can give it to you later when I'm finished. So those are ways that you can really help. And you modeling, please, and thank you, and hello, and goodbye, and it's good to see you, and all of those things. Your child will start mimicking what you're saying. Emotional functioning. Um, Making feelings a part of your everyday conversation with your infant or your toddler is really important. I know it may not seem important because the baby's looking at you like, what are you talking about? But in the long run, you're going to really be happy that you did this. Just talking, self-talk, if that's what you want to call it, but you're actually talking to your child who is listening to everything and modeling themselves after everything they hear and see that you're doing. So describe what you're seeing and doing when your child is upset so they can learn to recognize those cues within themselves and offer similar comfort to their peers. Offer options when your child is upset. Um, Children have their favorite blanket, or sometimes they want a hug, but give them options. Don't just grab them and tell them it's all going to be okay. Just help them learn to regulate and recognize how to regulate their own emotions. This doesn't mean leave them alone all the time. It just means following your child's lead. If they look like they need time to calm down, to self-soothe, give them a place where they know that they can go there and have their special blanket. And if they want a hug, if they're the huggers, by all means, please give them a hug. Preschoolers, pausing before you react to an incident that has happened, and ask the other children, if there's other children involved, how they feel about what happened. If your child has went over and hit another child and there's other children around, they're all going to be pretty much involved in the situation. And you want to try to work with the children to see if you can help them to work out the problem if someone's not hurt badly, or if it's just a little situation. So you want to acknowledge the hurt child's feelings, and you also want to acknowledge your child's feelings and give a moment to figure out how you want to respond to them. Because when something happens like that, you want to quickly jump in and say something, but we don't have all the information. So it's probably best to kind of step back, breathe. If no one's injured badly, maybe some hurt feelings or a little bit of shock, then wait and then figure out what you're going to say and how you're going to handle it, and then move forward. But everything is a teaching moment, so use it as a teaching moment. Don't dismiss it as, oh, you're okay, you're fine, go on, you'll be fine. Encourage children to notice other people's feelings and give them ways to help. Have a little dialogue back and forth. Well, she fell down and skint her knee. If your friend fell down and skint her knee and she's sitting there crying, what could you do? Anticipate what will happen in a new situation. Just like we just said, her friend fell down, her knee is skint. What could she do that would help her friend? And how does that person feel? How does your child feel seeing her friend hurt? And what kind of emotions is she having, and ways that he or she can manage their emotions around that situation? Continue with emotional functioning, infants and toddlers. Telling your child what's going to happen to them in advance and prepare them for changes and transitions. As you're picking up your baby, as you're reaching for him, say, I'm going to pick you up now and I'm going to take you to the changing table and we're going to change your diaper. Oh my goodness, we got to change that wet diaper. A toddler grabbing their hand. We're going to walk over and wash your hands at the sink now, okay? Those are things that prepares them. You're not just grabbing their hand and just dragging them off somewhere. They don't understand what's going on. If they don't want to respond to you, name that strong feeling that they're having. I see you're upset with me. You look mad. I'm going to wash your hands and then you can go sit down and eat. But we have to do that. We're not going to fight. with mommy or daddy, we're going to go sit down. Um, Design the environment to maximize positive behaviors and minimize behaviors that cause problems. If you can have more than, in the classrooms, they try to have more than one of each toy so that there's not a fight. In the home, that's a little different. Um, there's other ways of doing that that can minimize some behaviors, like having things set up beforehand if you're doing a project with them or something that you want them to do. Um, Give them materials that encourage them to manage and express and discuss their feelings and those of others. That is puppets, books, um, dolls, uh, just all different ways. Just make sure that you're always talking and expressing your feelings and acknowledging their feelings. Preschool, invite your child to express their feelings and consider what others might be feeling. You want your child to tell you, when I'm mad at you, Mom, I'm really mad. I know you're mad at me, but you still need to do what I asked you to do. Um, I love you, but I just really need you to go to bed right now. It's okay if they're angry. It's okay if they say that they're angry. It doesn't mean that they hate you. It just means that they're having an emotion right now. Um, and you need to express how you're feeling about the emotion they're feeling so they can consider what you might be feeling. It makes me sad that you're mad at me, but you still need to do what I asked you to do. Acknowledge and accept the feelings, as said earlier, and expressing ways to for them to do it in appropriate ways. And also with them, provide a variety of materials and activities that allow for them to be creative and express. Um, Nobody likes to watch boys crash cars, but that's them expressing themselves. Girls with their dolls, or boys and girls with their dolls, and girls with cars. Whatever they're doing and how they're showing how they're feeling, it's okay as long as it's not destructive or hurtful to others or themselves. Emotional functioning, infants and toddlers. Help your child learn how to handle situations that challenge them. If there is something, and I think I spoke about it earlier, that your child is doing and they seem a tad bit frustrated, that's okay. Let them try to work it out. And if they get really frustrated and they throw it, infants and toddlers tend to do that. Um, it's okay. Pick it up. Say, we play with our toys. We don't break our toys. And would you like me to help you? And then you can show them. Um, if your child seems really stressed out and tired, overly excited and distressed, by all means, please change the activity. If you see your child getting really worked up in an activity and you know within a half an hour you want to put him to bed, it's best to um, attack that situation right away. Do a calming time, calm down, a warm bath, cuddle time, reading a book, listening to music quietly as you're cuddling with them, something to help them calm down. So you want to change the activity if your child seems really tired also. That's huge. Um, you know, you, if they're fussing and they're yelling, and I know you want to stay at the grocery store, but if you know that they're tired, you might have to stop what you're doing and take them home if you don't want to handle the drama. I mean, if you're okay with it, then that's fine. Everybody has different parenting styles, but I would suggest taking them home and then starting over. It would be such a pleasant activity for the two of you when there's not so much going on that's negative. With the preschoolers, have private conversations with your children. Not every child wants everyone to know what's going on with them. A lot of children, there's quite a few children that are very private in how they feel, and you don't want to take that quietness for that they're okay. So you need to have those private conversations with them to help them understand and cope with different situations, because they are little, they are learning, and they are growing and changing, and they do need your support. We're their team. You're their front line. So really be there for them and have those conversations with them and listen. Listen before you speak. Well, we got through it. You did it. And I'd like to say, connect with your family coach if you need any further assistance or have any questions or concerns on any of the topics that I included in this training. Not everything is that I spoke about is for everyone, but it is proven that these strategies work and that they are helpful in supporting you and your family with raising your children. I want to thank you for taking the time to add to your knowledge of parenting our future leaders of this world. So we'll be hosting a question and answer next month to review the contents of this presentation. And as I said before, contact your family service worker with anything that you need related to your child, because they're there for you, we're here for you, and I will see you next month. Thank you.